Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of RYBEAU Radio. Today, I am so excited because we've got one of my favourite people ever, Mikki.
Thank you for having me, right?
Oh, thanks for joining me. Mikki, tell the audience who's watching all about you, and Shelen, of course, and whoever else you want to tell us what you have for tea today.
Amazing.
Go for it.
Okay, so I'm Mikki Eva for anyone who doesn't know me. And in a nutshell, I encompass three different professional versions of myself. So in the day, I am a lecturer and head of department at Salford City College, where we teach makeup artistry for fashion, as well as special effects and prosthetics as well. I have my love for my little baby, which is Shelen, where we offer tools, accessories, products for all makeup artists and makeup lovers.
And
So
they're
if
good.
you haven't if you haven't seen us or checked us out, please have a look at Shelen Online Store on Instagram
I'll
and
link
at
it
Shelen.
all.
Thank you so much on TikTok as well. Aside from that, my third little avenue too is I'm also a co-founder of founder of a charity, Khaya Foundation. So you can follow us again at Khaya FND, where we raise money to send young children to school in Zimbabwe. So that's a little bit about me. And if you give us a little follow on all of our little platforms, you'll get to know more.
Yay, I love that. So today we're here to talk about Glow Up, everything Glow Up, Glow Up episode 7. How are we feeling about the show so far? Have you been keeping up to date?
Yes. Do you know what? Before your season, I wasn't too much of a glow. I dipped in and out of glow up because of uni and teaching and stuff, but I have been glued to my screen ever since. And the creativity on this particular season is just insane. So I'm loving it. I'm loving it, loving it, loving it.
Yeah, it's brilliant. And I feel like this year is just so much. I mean, every guest has said it, and I've said it as well so many times. I'm probably sick of hearing it now, but it's just elevated every year. And like you said, the creativity is just insane.
It
But
is.
it's mad to see how like seasons evolve and also like episodes evolve as well. I felt this year it's kind of started really full on and amazing. And I feel like it's kind of got weaker. It's weird. Like I feel like you can see the creativity's been sucked out of them now by episode 7. Do you know you're there for that
Yeah,
long?
yeah.
I
I
mean,
feel you.
yeah.
Yeah.
So this week's challenge. So the reason I wanted you on today, in fact, I'm glad it happened now because this is very light on brand for you. What do you think of this
100%.
episode? The Brits, the challenge.
This I think this episode in particular, I'm loving the fact that you have actually asked me to do this one, because I think it mashes up everything that I love in terms of the world of artistry. This is me in an episode all over. First of all, the Brits, that glitz, that glam, that
Yeah.
editorial slickness. I absolutely loved the brief for this. And I think it fits right in keeping as well with everything that we do at Salford Uni as well, teaching our fashion degree too. So it's literally just on point. And then when we slipped into the creative brief, that bit where unconventional tools are meshing with creativity. Love it. Loved it.
Yeah, it's just it's weird because like you've got this such subtle side. Like some people have briefs for doing no makeup, and then the creative briefs like do everything. It's so
Yeah,
like, polar, isn't it? The episodes,
it is. It is. I love it.
it's great. So we're walking into the Brits now, triggered because Hector Espinal is the guest judge, and I'll give you a secret. Actually, I'll give you a secret, right? So obviously, this is the episode judge who sent me
Yeah.
home, but this episode was meant to be on my series, so the episode that I went home on. So we was meant to do the Brits. We was meant to have this challenge last year, but Maya was away filming something else in
Oh,
America, so we couldn't do it. So watching it was almost like weird because I was like putting myself in their shoes and be like, oh, I wonder if I had this person, if I had this person, who would have had.
I
Um,
can imagine.
but yeah, what do you think of Hector being the guest judge again? Are you happy to see him again? What do you think of his work?
I do love his work. I think for the Brits, yes, definitely the right judge for that. Anything to do with fashion, editorial, for the creative brief. I think sometimes when you come with a different skill set, you look at things maybe with a different eye. So I think yeah, he was great as a judge.
Mhm.
But I think maybe for the creative brief, I was hoping, especially because it was kind of whittling everyone down to the final, to maybe have seen an additional somebody perhaps come in and step into that would have been fabulous, but that's
Yeah.
just me being greedy.
I feel like Ismaya French that they had on earlier would have been even better to come in as.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like Ismaya French would have been unreal to have because her looks. I mean, she can do anything, but I feel like for the Brits as well, with that like eyeliner and the freshness of the skin, right? So I think she'd have been really good as a judge as that for that challenge. But seeing Hector knows his stuff, and I feel like
Yeah.
Hector does the girls for the runways, for the red
Yeah.
carpet. So I was really happy to see Hector. But no, yeah, 100% agree what you're saying with that. So we've walked in now to the challenge,
Mhm.
and everyone's assigned models. If someone sat in your chair, like in this challenge, if you was on Globe in this challenge, how would you go about it first? Like, how would you choose
Okay,
them?
so there were a couple of different pointers. So I love the four that are left at this particular point, right? But I found it a little bit disappointing to kind of see, like Kieran, for example, absolutely love everything that they do. But that bit of defeatedness and almost deflatedness, I really was hoping that that wouldn't come through when kind of speaking to the models, or even I think Axel mentioned a little bit too about being the underdog and stuff. So that element, I just thought, oh, you didn't need to say that bit. Just introduce yourself, say who you are, make that model feel comfortable in your chair. So that was the first bit that gripped me when the model sat down, and I thought, you're losing them before you get started. Just get
100%.
into it and believe in yourself.
It's like a skill, I think, to make your model feel comfortable and also not get in your head about the competition too much or feel like you have to play a role in the competition. Like I'm the special effects guy or I'm this or I'm that. And I feel like it's very hard or very easy, sorry, to put yourself in a box and when you're in a challenge that you're not comfortable with, express it a bit too much.
Yeah, definitely.
But because I've been there, I feel like the producers definitely had a bit to play because they do like to ask how do you feel, obviously, but then they also like to say, this is not your forte. Tell us about that.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I
Okay.
don't really. Oh yeah. It's not really my forte, but I'm here to win. Blah 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 blah. And they're like, no, can you just say that again like this? And you can just tell. Like, probably Kieran had
Mhm.
questions asked,
Yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
probably been a catalyst.
Hmm.
But then again, I feel like there is still that kind of. I feel like this year they're very panicky about it all.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's that lesson, isn't it? It's not what you say, but how you say it that's important.
Mm,
Because I think there's a
yes.
real charm in expressing your vulnerability as well sometimes, right? But also just remembering that whatever you speak out loud, you almost manifest that into existence. So just, yeah, oh, do you know what? This isn't my strongest. Like, who said it? I think, was it Saffron, when Saffron said something along the lines
Mm.
of this is not usually what I do, but I'm excited for the opportunity to show that I can also do this, something along those lines. And that bit I loved. I thought it was.
Fine. It's an extra in the live now. It's fine. This is happening. I'll just allow it to be.
Okay, I'm gonna
I
try my
mean,
best to
unless it's
celebrate
really
this.
doing your head in, then we can stop. But it's funny. I really enjoy it.
Okay. It's doing my head in, bro. Yeah, no. So with Saffron, I loved the way that she explained that maybe it's not always what she's usually doing, but she's excited for that opportunity to show it. I feel like Rue said something similar as well too, where
Yes.
she so yeah. So for example, Saffron again also expressed something similar, where it's not usually a style of work, but they
Yeah.
would accept that challenge and kind of show what they've got. Rue said something very similar as well, where Rue said, this is not usually what I do, or soft glam, but I can do it if I have to do it. And it's that thing where, again, they spoke it into existence and knew that possibly this is not really my forte, but I'm going to give it everything that I've got
100%.
now that challenge. And I think what you speak over yourself is super important as well. So yeah, so as soon as the models kind of sat in the chair, and that first impression is the first 10 seconds of someone that when you first meet someone, that is going to be the lasting impression. And if you start off with anything a little bit negative, it's going to be the niggle that's in the back of people's minds. So yes, so I'd have just said, yeah, just come in with a bit more positivity and self-belief. I'd have loved to see more.
That's literally all it had to be. Like what you said, like, yeah, not something I get to do a lot of, but really, really excited to do it. I mean, you kind of
Yeah.
let the viewers know a little bit, like, yeah, okay, this is not me. Or even
Mhm.
wait, like, if I was gonna say it, I'd say it like when I wait in front of my model, like to the producer, if I wanted to kind of get that across to the audience. But yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like you have to always remember, like, I watch this now with like such a different angle because I know what the producers are like. I remember my
Mhm.
episode, it was like, Ryan, we love you working fast, you know, love it when you get a makeup look in 40 minutes. Blah blah blah. And I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna win this, finishing really early, and then watched it back, and they were like, Ryan needs to slow down. I was like, love
Yeah.
that for me. So I can probably see where it comes from. But yeah, no, I feel like as well in the real world, no matter who's in your chair, celebrity or someone who's down the road, I feel like just that touch of kindness
Yeah.
really
100%.
pushes your business. And even just as a person, it's just nice to be nice. I feel like it's a service, isn't it? And when you're being trusted with someone's face, which is very personal, you almost
Yeah.
want to be in someone's hands who you can trust and
Yeah.
feel.
100%.
Yeah. So I agree. We agree
Yeah.
as well.
Definitely. Definitely.
So we'll go in the order of this. So what did you think of Axel's look then?
Okay, so I think they did a really great job, to be honest. I think considering the little comment that was made about, it not really being what they're used to doing and that
Yeah,
sort
yeah,
of
yeah.
thing, I think they did pull it out of the bag. I think the panic a little bit around, the crease under the eyes and all of that was a bit, it didn't have to be hyped in that way. And I think again it was acceptable. A little bit more calm at the very beginning would have just helped to just execute, and just that finer detailing, just perfecting that look would have helped. But I think considering that it's not their forte, they did the best.
Yeah, I think but on camera, I didn't really think there was an issue with the under eye. Like I didn't, unless it's just me, but I just didn't look at that and think, oh my gosh, like, what's that?
The Andrew eyes.
Because, well, it's like what you say, what you speak over yourself. If Axel didn't mention that, even with the
Mhm.
camera being there, would Hector step in? Like, do you know what I mean? I do
Yeah, yeah,
that
yeah.
myself because, like, you've said that and they've heard you say that, so then it
Mhm.
makes them to come in and put something in the bottom because I don't think that look was a bottom two look. The
No.
the liner was so dark and pigmented and precise. The smoke was really
Mhm.
nice. The skin was beautiful. The lip, I love the lip. The lip color
Yeah,
was
yeah,
so good with that dark black. It wasn't overpowering. I loved it. But
yeah. No, I agree.
I think saying that is a bit, ooh, like, why
Yeah,
did you
it
do
didn't
that?
have to be, and I think it was also just remembering for all of them, remembering that this was a look like Lopez, right? This is a look for a client brief, and that person that sat in your chair is the person that you need to impress the most. So just having that regular communication with that person in the chair, and right, okay, so I've kind of set it under the eyes. What do you think of that? Flipping the script a
Yeah,
little bit so that the artist in the chair can kind of say, actually, no, 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 I'm happy with that, or just powder a little bit more, or kind of direct where that look is going. That would show just a bit more attention to the customer that is in the chair, to the client that's in the chair. So I think, yeah, maybe just speaking to the client a little bit more and just being confident in what they were doing as well. And you're right, I don't think Hector needed to step in like that. I don't think it needed to get to that point.
I didn't think it did either. And I think as well, like you said with the communication thing, it's just there's a way to kind of influence your client to do what you want to do, almost. You like they've missed a trick a little bit.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's that thing where it's educating the client that's in your chair, isn't it? Because I may come in onto
That's the
your
word.
chair, right, and you know what? I think I want to really go for an orange eye, and I want it all the way to the brow. But you're the professional, and you kind of stepping into that room, knowing that I'm the expert in this room right now. So
Hmm?
I'll hear what you have to say, consult with you, and hear what you've got to say. But I'll also give you some education, a bit of hints and tips of what I think would, like you say, complement the dress, or this will really extend that eyeliner a bit more. Or actually, I know that you said you want to go for something smoldery, but how about if we smudged it a little bit more on the lash line, or
Yeah.
maybe a little bit wet? That educating the client, you end up then, like you say, almost persuading them into a look that perhaps they never even considered for themselves before. But actually, as you do it, that would be the thing that blows their mind. And now that they've been educated for something different, they're actually open to explore for something else. So yeah, so I think, yeah, it is that educating the client. You're the professional at that particular time.
And like going back to what you said earlier as well, on top of that, acting or like saying to the producer, saying to your client, like, I don't feel confident, is then making you look less professional, and then they're going to try and dominate the situation. And
Yes.
we're going to Kieran now as well. Like, I felt like the model was kind of felt like they had to kind of guide Kieran a little bit,
Yeah.
or like kind of
Yes.
dominate the situation to make sure them lashes are on. We've not got the skin done, and I could see the
Yeah.
model really panicking because it felt like Kieran wasn't taking the reins a little bit.
And I guess as well too, the magnitude of the brief too, like they're at the Brit Awards, you have these celebrities in the chair, and of course I think naturally they would feel nervous or
Yeah,
apprehensive to just make sure that we're doing the best job possible, and that is natural. But I think just on reflection, food for thought is just going in with that positive mindset, again taking control of the situation and showing what you've got to bring to the
yeah,
table as well would have just flipped the script a little bit, I think.
100 million%. So going on to Kieran, like on top of that, what did you feel like? How did you feel about the look? How they went about the brief technically, and because we kind of spoken about the attitude vibe, but like, how would you feel
Yeah.
technically with the makeup that Kieran did? Because I have mixed views on it. Like,
Mm,
it was well done, but I didn't like how, like, there's a very cartoony, like, and I'd
yeah,
sleeked hair and like a nice, like, very open dress. I feel like it could have just been done a bit differently. I don't know.
yeah. Yeah, definitely. No, no, I agree. I think we've definitely seen better work produced by Kieran throughout the series. And again, I know we've spoken about the attitude, the approaches to that, but I think because it came from a place of defeat already,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
yeah.
the direction in which way to apply had already almost been lost. But in terms of out of all of them, I was probably the most disappointed, unfortunately, with Kieran, because I've been rooting for Kieran throughout this whole
I,
series as the little underdog that's coming, wanting to kind of show a bit of something. But yeah, I agree with you, Ryan. I think it was a little bit cartoony. They had a gorgeous model on the chair that could have just literally just softened everything out and just made it really flawless and glamorous. And I think there was just too much sort of cartoony harshness to the look that
yeah.
yeah, could have just done a little bit better with that.
I feel like as well, the model had gorgeous, like Brooke Shield bushy eyebrows and
Yes.
quite a lower down like mine. And I feel like a graphic liner that's very bold, even though she had more almond shaped eyes and obviously a higher brow than mine. I still feel like the brows are very heavy. And I feel like because there was a lot of lines, it kind of
Yeah.
just looked very heavy on the eye. And then, not the fly. Um,
Sorry.
look at it, I can't stop laughing. It's not even that funny, but it is. I just felt like the look felt very heavy on the eyes. And what I'd
Yeah.
personally done now, as someone a year later from being on the show and having experience, and then kind of knowing more now than what I did then, from like that glam vibe, I think like a smoky wing and a bit of like hair, just like not as bold. And if it was going to use graphic, it'd be very thin. Like it
Yes.
wouldn't be as
Yes.
thick as Kieran did it.
Definitely.
Coming in a little bit here, but
Hmm.
that's it. Like Kieran went into
Yeah.
this competition as a salon hairdresser, and now they're
Exactly.
wearing a celebrity for the Brits. It's such
Yeah.
like it's so weird. So that I think
Hmm.
really, really well considering like the vibes and like
I agree 100% because there's a first time for everything for everyone. And I think because, again, thinking about the background of Kieran coming in, again, hairdressing student, hairdresser, then coming into this, dabbling with makeup and coming to this point where you're now at the Brit Awards and you've got this pressure that is on you. People handle pressure differently. So I think for what it's worth and the journey, because everyone's journey is different, right? For the journey that Kieran has
yeah,
traveled,
yeah.
they have to be really proud of themselves because it isn't easy to be in that situation and just sit there and say, right, okay, let me glam you up ready for the Brits. It's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of pressure. So I think the idea and the concept behind what they were trying to achieve was a good one. But like you say, I think just the
Mhm.
execution and precision of that could have just been a little bit more delicate
Yeah.
to just kind of work with the eye shape a bit more.
100%. So moving on now to Saf. Now, I wish this episode come out like now, because how Barbie is that? Like, I absolutely loved it. At first, I thought, oh my gosh, pink is going to be really strong. But I think if there's anywhere to put pink, it's definitely on the eyes and that look.
Oh
Like,
yes. Oh yes, definitely, definitely. Saffron is definitely one of my faves in the competition since the beginning. Just that mindset, attitude, artistry, everything about Saffron was literally on point. The look again was stunning, and she understood what the client wanted.
Yes.
That's what I loved again. And again, just paid really close detail to, right, I want this bold, I want it bright. And the client came in and said what they wanted, and
Yeah.
she executed that. So I think they did a fab job with that. Very bold, very dramatic. And you're right, very on trend. Like, now's that time to do the repost on that episode. And that is so Barbie.
Yeah, literally, like, I don't know, actually, they've not done that yet, to be honest.
Yeah.
But I felt like when they were doing it, I was a bit like, oh, like, is this Saf's downfall now? Because I'm just
I
been
know.
on the eye. Is it going to be really like cheesy or what? No.
Hmm.
Like, to be fair, I don't know why I doubted her because like she's not really felt at all really in the competition. But yeah, I was blown away as always, and I like the way she just approached. I felt like it was very balanced, and the way she
Yes.
supported the client as well. Like, we're going to do a spotlight eye. It was really suit the
Mhm.
dress. Do you agree? And you could tell like Talia, the model, really trusted her vision.
100%. Yeah. Yeah.
Which was
I
what,
agree.
yeah, like we said the other time, like the other two didn't really, what's like achieve.
Quite.
Yeah, like they didn't give that confidence. But no, Rue, moving on again. Now, I feel like because I'm so used to seeing Adam do his soft glams now, and we've had Howard on
Mhm.
the show, I feel like the soft glam level that I'm used to now of seeing on the show is like up here. So
Yes.
with Rue's look, I think it photographed a lot better than it looked. I felt like the photograph was
Did
insane.
it
It
justice.
looked
Yeah.
beautiful. But when I saw it being done and it was like really brown here, I was like, oh, I don't know if
Yeah.
she's gonna like it. It's a bit
Yeah.
dated. But then I think it really photographed like stunningly. So what's your
Yeah.
opinion on
I completely agree. I completely when I was watching them do that, I thought, this is definitely the bit where now we are going to see that downfall of Rue. This is not looking slick. It's not looking, but it's like you said early on. It's that makeup that you see face to face, and then how well that makeup then photographs.
that?
That's the bit that's more important. And again, for this particular brief, it was mainly about that. It was mainly about the photos that you would see afterwards. So I think it definitely 100% looked way better on camera than it actually did in the process of
Yeah.
achieving that look. 100%. And I know that Rue's self-confessed that this isn't my thing. I don't really do it, but if I have to, I will do it, sort of thing. And I think you could see that in the process too that was taken to achieve the look. But I think they did a great job. They did a great job for the end result. But yeah,
Yeah.
totally with you.
With Rue, they spend a lot of time, which I'm the exact opposite. I feel like you can go one way or the other. Like you're either really
Mhm.
quick or you're not quick enough. I feel like
Yeah.
for us, like they just needed to do. I feel like you're doing a soft glam. I think it's very soft on the eyes. Like it's all about
Hmm.
blending, building it up, but then coming back to it a little bit as well. As long as you got that line,
Yeah.
like a bit of brown liner or like a tight line and like lashes, it doesn't
Hmm.
do much else. Like I felt like they spent a long time building the color up because they weren't confident in how much to put on.
I agree. And I think even like I know that they focus a lot on the timing as well for Rue, and that they needed to just improve on that a bit. And I completely agreed with that. I would have loved to see that maybe as we get towards the end of the series, that there's been some sort of improvement in terms of that timing. So I think for the look, you're right. For the look that was achieved and the time taken to do that, it just it showed that lack of confidence. Just going in there strong with the color, picking up that pace a bit would have given more confidence to the client, the model in the chair as well, and given a better payoff, more impact of color as well, a
Yeah,
bit on the eye. But
yeah,
you're right, it was just taking they took their time a little bit more because they weren't too certain on what they
yeah.
needed to do.
I think the color on the eye was too rusty as well, like a rusty red. I feel like a bit too like. I feel like for what I like to do in approaching that makeup is use bronzer. Not about using the skin
Mhm.
ties in really nice
Yes.
together. I feel like the color of the eyes. I mean, it was still stunning. I just felt like it was a bit too warm, like not like a bit rusty warm, like brick from Mac. Was that what it's called?
Yes.
It
Yes,
looked like,
Brick.
it looked like they used that, and it was. I liked it. I just think it photographed So much nicer. Oh, who won? Saf won, didn't she? Saf won that challenge, I think, altogether. I think they decided.
Yes.
We agree with that, right?
10,000%. Saf blew my mind with that brief.
Yeah.
Completely blew my mind with that brief. The texture, yes, absolutely loved it.
And I feel like the way Talia wore it, and you could tell she was confident in the pictures. The only
Yes.
thing I did say that I think a lot of people missed, I was like, oh, I hope it's not all rubbed off. So I think the only thing that Talia doubted was the longevity of it. But if you've not worked with that artist before, that's the only thing. If that's the only thing you can be worried about, I think that's quite a positive, because how can you gauge how long a makeup's going to last for if you've never worked with them before? So I think that was the only worry that she had. And I think if that's the only worry that you've had, I think that's like you've won, really.
To be honest with you, I personally would have had Kieran and possibly Rue.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah. I think so. Again, I think it was the timing that it took as well, to the approach. I think it did photograph well in the end, Rue's particular look that they created. But I think Axel, I think Axel delivered. I think there was room for improvement with that look, but I do think Axel had delivered and was, yeah. So I think, again, because it was the final, I think it was a tight one to call. So between those three, the only person I wouldn't have popped into the red shade was definitely Saffron. So I think any combination of those, Kieran was a definite certain, but I would toy between Rue and Axel.
Yeah.
For the red share.
So we had the creative brief of greatest hits. Lost it then. Greatest hits. What would you have done for this? What's your greatest hit? What would you have done? What was something that you'd have like reminisced on or highlighted?
I think greatest hits. Oh, it's so difficult to choose. I think possibly I may have taken it back home a bit and maybe just celebrated a little bit my heritage culture, where I come from in Zimbabwe. So I'd have done some sort of African twist, I think, maybe to that.
I want to see that, actually. Can you not do that anyway?
No problem. Challenge accepted.
I want to see, like, I'd love to see that look from you, because I love, Dolly. Dolly does a lot of like big, like very like a lot on her heritage and stuff like that, and like her background. I'm absolutely obsessed with Dolly's work. Stunning. Right. The creative briefs then. We'll go on to that, because I don't know what was going on this week. If I'm honest. Because this is what I mean. Like, everyone has been so good. Like, even the people who've gone home, like, I don't look. There's not really been like a really bad one yet. Like, but now I'm at a point where I'm like, I just feel like I think now it's the point where they're creatively drained a little bit. It's getting towards the final, and it's that last push, and I feel like they're all wearing down a little bit. You might not agree, but
I'm with you on that one. I think it's at that point where it's crunch time, definitely feeling kind of withdrawn and maybe deflated a little bit in some areas, and again getting those juices flowing, because consecutively they're having to think of what am I going to do for this concept? Okay, how am I going to show the best skill that I have? And I think we definitely saw it in this episode where, some creative juices. We needed a bit more injecting of creative juices in this one. Definitely.
So, speaking of creative, I feel like this look. We're going on to Axel now, by the way. I'm just looking at my phone. Axel's look. With Axel's look for greatest hits, the last thing I'd ever do is do a look that you've done before in this scenario. That was your greatest hit, because then if it was your greatest hit, it's already peaked. Like, it's already at that point. And I feel like it doesn't do the original look justice. Like, the original look that Nikki Tutorials recreated that Axel did, I don't think it's as good as what he did in the past. That sounds horrible. And I think it's still really strong. But I just think, like, the look itself I love. And it's really well executed. And I think it's cool. And I think the idea is really intelligent. I just think the original was better. I don't know why. I think that I just
Yeah, no, I do have to agree with you there because when I first originally saw the look that Nikki Tutorials redid, I thought, oh, that is really slick and a very, very high fashion. I like the idea of what Axel was trying to do in terms of recreating something and put in a bigger stamp on it, but I don't think necessarily
mm,
it was upgrading that look. I think this is a completely separate look in itself.
yeah.
So I think maybe the concept or the idea of what the greatest hit was needed to just be re-looked at a little bit.
I feel like
So
Axel's go on, sorry. What was that?
yeah, no, sorry, I was gonna say so maybe even the interpretation, because the idea was that, it was an exciting time. Nikki Tutorials spotted them and loved the idea of the look. So that recognition, I think, is the story, not necessarily the look being the story, if that makes sense. So I would have interpreted that scenario a bit more of kind of being seen or being
Yeah.
acknowledged for the greatness of the work rather than this is the particular look that made me stand out, so I'm going to do that look again.
Yeah, no, yeah, 100%. And I think the look, right, we're going to like ignoring the past look as if it's
Yeah,
new. I love how the teeth are like that. I think they look like teeth. Um,
yes, I. Yep.
we've seen the tongue thing with Onmei before, and I feel like Onmei
Mhm,
did really well. This is really well done. I just think there's a lot of depth that's missing a little bit for me, but I still think it's really, really well done. Like I do love
yeah,
it. Um, I love the texture. I don't
mhm,
think I need it to be like that. I feel like it, I don't know. I feel like it could be different. Um, I wish there was mascara on. I wish the hair was
yeah,
straight back. Uh,
yeah,
but overall, like it's a strong look. I love how they've used black paint to kind of morph the body into something else. That's really intelligent. And I love this mottling around. And I love how they've done the 3D effect with the skin like coming off. And the blood looks very real.
mhm,
It's weird. It's like realism meets painting. And I think
yeah.
that's where it kind of loses me a little bit because it's like really drawn on and then really SFX realism. And sometimes they go together and sometimes they clash a little bit. I think that's my problem. That is like it doesn't meet the somewhere in the middle. It's kind of two looks in one.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think again because of the stage of the competition that we're at this point of the season of Glow
Yeah.
Up, it made me get my kind of teacher head on and be a lot more critical for the finer details. I
Mm.
love the idea and the concept of the teeth. That the framing of that prosthetic when it first went on, I thought was gorgeous. But as you kind of draw closer and you do the kind of zooming in a bit, those outer edges just needed either texture adding around them or just really blending off those edges. So I'd love to have seen maybe it almost looked a bit like perhaps maybe even a latex piece with the
It is.
teeth kind
I
of
think.
in, right? So if we had maybe plastic even on those outer edges of as the first layer to just blend it through seamlessly, so you didn't
Yeah.
really see where it was starting and stopping, and then the rest of the coloring around sort of the forehead and the neck piece and the chest piece, I think could have done with a bit more depth in order to intensify the look
Yeah.
a bit.
I think with it's either foam latex. Sorry, not foam latex, sorry, foam clay, which I know Axel likes to use because actually introduced me to it.
Mm-hmm.
Or it's latex and tissue into a mold.
Yeah.
However, I think even not even cat plastic, like if you wanted to do like a cheap version that's accessible there and then out of kit,
Mm-hmm.
you could even use just Prose cream or even Sculpt gel and just smooth it over
Yeah.
with Sculpt gel.
Just smooth
That's
over the
so
top.
yeah,
Yeah. one
it
Hundred percent.
needs that. But I feel like if there was a more production time, maybe I don't know. I just feel like the texture goes well, but then carry it all over the face if you want to go for
Yeah.
this creepy, scary look.
I
Um,
think yeah, just the outer edges finishing off, and even if no additional material was used, but just when making the mold, thinning out those edges so that they're super super fine.
yeah,
Um, so yes, I think just the finishing touches would have really helped. And I see what you mean about the mascara as well. Once you clock it on that eye, you can't unsee it, can you? It's like just
yeah.
give me a bit of mascara or add some, I don't know, blood drops or something to the eye. Just
Yeah.
add something.
I think it will literally. I feel like if they did like a red eyeliner to tie it all in together, do you know, in the
Yeah,
line and red
no,
mascara, just to
I
bring
agree.
because the colors are really like. I would love. I know red and green should never be seen, but I love it together. Me, I feel like it, especially an editorial like this. I think if they did like green veining, And like it would have,
Yeah,
because I think like blue is really cool, and then it's contrasted with this really warm, which just make it
yeah,
stand out. But I don't know. I think it's just being me really hypercritical. But
yeah. And this is us kind of reflecting on it, right, and looking at it with a super zoomed in critical eye. I
yeah,
think in the time frame, of course, Axel was also in the red chair, weren't they? So that with this time frame again, you're kind of set back and kind of panicking probably that moment, thinking I've got to get this piece done. So
Mhm.
the time to maybe step back and reflect and look at the look may not have been there. So I think for what it's worth, it's great. There's some depth in the paintwork that's kind of on the neck, but just the finesse of the hair detail, the depth around the body and stuff, and the outer edge of the prosthetics could have just had a little bit more detail to them.
Right, next up, I'm going to show you two pictures first, right? We have
Yeah.
Sam next.
Mm-hmm.
Inside gossip. I spoke to staff because staff, I've known staff, but I've not known her for a long time. I've known of her for a long time. We've met before Glow Up. And I remember seeing this look that she did. And I said to her, if you ever get the chance to go and Glow Up, because we know she's auditioned because she's always in the thing before every season. Like, we know she's been there for a
Yeah.
while. And I've always said to her, if you ever go on Glow Up, take them flat mold with you and run those silicone pieces and do that troll. Please, please,
Mm.
promise me now you'll do that troll. And she was like, yeah, I'll do it. Okay. It's like, right. And I don't think she took the molds of her. And I think that's why she's in this situation. I feel like I'll show you what I mean. Because we've got that's the original.
Oh, yes, I do remember seeing this somewhere actually.
That's the
Wow.
original, right? And she got a job of Marvel from that. Kind of gone to What's in My Kitchen, kind of like I just think it's a bit of a letdown compared to what I know that staff can do. That's
Yeah,
me
yeah,
being like hypercritical. But I think
yeah,
if you've done something so well before, either do it to that level or don't do it. I feel like, I mean, she said, oh, it's me being experimental. I want to experiment, which is great, but I don't think it's a good time to do it and Glow Up. Why have you not done what you know? And I don't know. And you on them prosthetics are made by you as well. Like it's your essence. It's your like. Yes, it's been done.
yeah.
You could run it in another color. You could do a blue troll and do like a different color
Mhm.
troll with different eye on it. I just feel like I don't know. I love the texture though.
Yeah.
That's new.
Uh,
I love the texture, and I think the foam clay that Saf's used, the brow bone is really fun. I think it's really well done for foam clay.
mhm,
I think it's.
mhm.
I think if the other look wasn't there, and this is the first time I've seen this, I'd really like it. But because I'm
Yeah.
what she can do, I'm like, really, like, why?
Drawing that comparison to the one before, isn't it? I see where you're coming from, and I think putting those two different looks next to each other, you
Yeah,
kind of see that a bit more, and you think, yeah, definitely the first one was probably achieved a lot better. I think I agree with the wig cap. She could have really just used a ball cap and that would have just finished that look off amazing. Or considering that she was kind of going for the sort of texture and unconventional materials, just around that harsh line, we could have just
foam
added a
clay.
bit more and had some of just cotton and bits and bobs on that bit to disguise that harsh line. But I think Saf was in a really great position because in comparison to what was in the room, this was a sellout piece in comparison to the looks that were created in the
But
room. But yeah, no, I agree. I agree.
imagine if compared to everyone in the room, she'd have done that troll. Considering the time that she's had to do it in and the materials, I think the brow piece is really good. It needs to be,
Yeah,
it's off, it needs to be lower. I think
yeah.
if it overhung a little bit, it would look really mysterious and cool. Or if it was
Mhm.
contour with a bit of black to give it depth. But I
Just
think,
deepened a bit more, right?
yeah, but I think other than that, like, I don't hate it. I don't hate it.
No,
I actually really like it. It's just because I just know what Safk is capable of.
I think that there is a lot. There's a lot of skill that you can see within this. Definitely nitpicking, room for improvement in those areas that we've said, but she's definitely demonstrated quite a bit of skill in this. So yeah, no, I was really impressed with it.
Yeah. Right. Next up, like it's the little faces that make me laugh. They remind me of something. It looks like something I've seen, but it's really funny, and I can't think of what it is. Who's up next? I can see what they have tried to do, or what they like, what it could be. But
Mhm.
yeah, what do you think? I'll let you go.
Um, I was honestly speaking, I wasn't too impressed by it. I loved the idea of sort of kind of injecting the fluid into the faces that were on the side. I agree with what the judges said. Yeah, it did. Yeah, it just I wasn't impressed. I think for to get into the finals, this wasn't it. This really
Yeah.
really wasn't it. I think that color needed to be taken down onto the chest as well. I think the injecting that
Just the
drippy
injections were made like in these faces, and it just made me really laugh. But I think Rue focuses too much on impressing the judges as well, because obviously they have that spray moment, which was iconic on episode 1. I think
yes
then they kind of know what makes the judges tick and like get that reaction. And I feel like because Rue is a performer as well, they like to perform whilst they're doing it. And I think they
mm-hmm.
focus too much on performance rather than executing just a full look. And
Yeah.
I think they've overthought, oh, I need to inject this and this needs to do this, and then this will look really cool. I think just edit it. Like take your first idea and take another one, then edit it down into the final one.
Mm-hmm.
It needs to be this inject. I actually the faces are really made me laugh, but it's a really cool idea. Like the actual idea
Yeah.
is cool. Like it's really intelligent. I don't know what's going on with the
And I
eye.
think
Like I
I was
really
gonna say with
like
those eyepieces as well, like
string. What is that? Like I did string on mine, and it doesn't work. I'm like even Val says it just doesn't work. It needs to be.
yeah.
If it was a tube, what's filled with liquid as well, it would have worked. I
And I
don't
think
know.
even aside from the string as well, the application of those eyepieces, again, those edges, blending off those edges, it just needed a little bit more work to kind of make it seamless. Blending off the edges of those eyepieces, yeah.
The color black would have just absorbed all the edges anyway. Just even if you don't have time to put black paint around it, because
Mm-hmm.
black absorbs the light, so you wouldn't be able to see the edges. That's what I used. That's literally how I got through glow up. But I just put in black paint and everything, and hiding everything. But I just think like if this was finished, I would love to see what it would have looked like if it was finished.
Yeah,
But
me too.
like there's nothing else there.
Yeah,
It's like
no,
it's like a shimmer all over it, and there's shimmer over brow texture, so you can really see the brow texture and the edges from the shimmer.
it really didn't help. My favorite element of this look was definitely the lips. The lips
Yeah.
was my favorite bit. I think that the highlighting of the lips, I don't think it went with the entire thing that they were going for, but I like the detail of the lips in like an editorially sort of something. I think it would be fabulous. I'm just not impressed with the prosthetics and the finishing of this. I think they definitely needed more time to really execute it, and I'd love it if they recreated this look and we saw the finished product, you know, like
Yeah.
body done and actually seeing this liquid pumped into the faces and really saw
Yeah.
the finished results of it. I'd be really excited to see the end result of it, but I think in the time that they were given, it just didn't look like enough was achieved within that time limit.
Do you know what I'd love to have seen? Like some eyeballs floating in that silicone piece, like it's some sort of alien. It's so weird
Yeah,
because I think it's really creative. I think the idea is there. It's just the execution.
yeah,
Yeah, it was. I mean, we'll talk about it. Let's just talk about it now, right? No one got eliminated this episode.
yes,
I never want anyone's downfall. I don't wish downfall upon anyone. And you know what? I'm not a negative person. I won't wish someone to go home. It is an elimination-based competition. And the worst that because like Howard, for example, we had to go back to when Howard went home, we had to go back to the creative brief to decide who'll stay. Oh, we had to go back to the creative brief because the face off so perfect. We need to go back to the creative brief. When Kieran and Rue was in that face off and they were both the same level, they not go back to the creative brief and kick Rue out. Like I don't wish that upon them. Like
yeah,
I don't wish them to go home or to have
I
a
agree.
shot.
Yeah,
I don't want to put that negative energy onto them, but I just feel like in that situation, it's just a part of the game that happens. Unfortunately, you sign up for the show, you get signed up to get eliminated. I just think like if I was the producer or Dom and Val, I'd be like, it's not fair, I don't think, on the others.
point with that definitely, because I didn't yeah, I do see your point, because I think there was room for somebody to go home,
Yeah.
and they could have gone back to that creative brief. They could have looked at the journey overall and really measured up the skill that had been demonstrated.
Yeah.
I see where you're coming from with that.
I think Val likes their work and sees something in them, which makes Val maybe want them to stay, but I don't know. That's all hearsay and me just like conspiring. But yeah, I feel like I'm happy to see Rue in the final, but I'm not happy with the decision made really because it's not fair when we've judged other people in that way. So next up we have Kieran. So I love this, absolutely love this. I can see this in a magazine.
I'm in two minds
Hey,
about this look. I think it's a finished look. I can see it kind of being used somewhere. Um, I think because of the concept of what it was, and because this kind of top bit with the line work was meant to be here, right? I'd have loved to see more sort of movement in that hair. Do you see what I mean? I think the
Yeah,
lines are quite rigid for me didn't scream hair. So if
scream
someone
hair.
had this image and said, tell me, what do you read by this? What would you dictate the concept to be? I wouldn't be able to straight away say that this is hair. So personally, I'd have loved to see something like, even maybe like a fan brush being used to create just sort of wave and
Yeah,
detail, a bit of highlighting and, you know, a deepness of color here and there, to just really emulate that
hair.
hair texture. I love how with this look
I
here, and
agree.
has finished off the actual model's hair. Like, I love it. There's attention to detail in the finishing of the look, but just the lines on the top half had me a little bit disappointed with this one.
Yeah, I mean, I love the look. I mean, when it doesn't look like hair at all, I just like the look. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah,
Like hair on
yeah,
hair, I'd love this.
yeah,
But yeah, no, fan brush would have been unreal. That's a really good idea, actually. Like a fan brush
yeah,
strokes, like different colors and like highlight it.
yeah. And
Yeah,
then
that's
just
cool.
have a bit of white bits coming through it.
I
Or if
wish as
we're going
well.
for
Go on.
refined lines, maybe even going just like a really thinner brush to have like really slick detail. But I think highlighting and shading in between that as well would have really given it dimension over on the top.
They need to hit you up, don't they? Make you for some brushes and glow up to get them thin lines in.
This is what it is, Ryan. That's what they're missing. You see, had Kieran had the right tools from Shelen, then we'd be able to achieve that look.
There you
Because
go.
jokes aside, Kat, who you had on last week's episode, she did an amazing body paint. I'll have to send you the picture. She did an amazing body paint, and again, she used one of our fan brushes and created these sort of feathered streaks on the model. I think it was Isabella
Yeah,
that was modeling for her, and created these lovely texture on there. I'll have to send you the photo, and it's an unrated tool, a fan brush, and you can
yeah,
create so much texture and work with that. So yeah, so that's what I'd have loved to see on that top half. But I think the impact of color, that gold, because sometimes when you use gold body paint as well, depending on the paint that you use, it can be quite difficult to have that consistent. It's slick, the finishing, the rounding off around the neck as well makes
it
it super
needs
polished.
it needs some.
Yeah,
No, it needs like a black paint or a red paint around there.
on that,
The clavicle.
yeah, in part, right? Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree. So I think, again, in comparison, if they had, when we got to sort of the two sort of final challenge with Rue and with Kieran, if we were to revert back to these looks that were created in comparison, I do think that Kieran's look is a lot more polished than
Yeah,
the look that Rue had achieved. So I think, yeah, in that aspect, I see what you mean, where actually we could have revisited this last brief that was done, and I think Kieran definitely did, yeah, smash
yeah.
it on this.
No, I agree. So that about concludes the creative briefs. Now the face off. Now we've already kind of touched on this a little bit, but like, what do you think?
I think in terms of who's in the face off, yes, I do agree, because as slick as Rue, I think we've already kind of chatted about that. Their look was just unfinished. There was some sort of creative thought behind what they were trying to achieve, but it was unfinished, and I think they deserve to be in the bottom two for this particular challenge.
Agree.
And then Kieran, there wasn't, at this point in the competition, they didn't show a lot of dimension to that look. It was a bit of a face paint with a bit of color through the hair.
Yeah,
So I think it was the right choice for the last two in the face off, in comparison to Axel and Saffron's look.
yeah.
So now, in terms of the look itself, I thought it was a great brief for them to create. Kieran, I thought I would have seen a little bit more of. At first, I think the placement of the lashes, I was all for Kieran, but when they did that kind of zoom in a bit and you kind of saw the lashes that went quite
Yeah.
close to the root of the lashes, I was like, babe, no, you just needed to. So I get where they were coming from, but the application that was done by Rue, I wasn't impressed by that. I don't think that a no elimination was needed because I didn't believe that the skill level was at par. I think I agree with what we were saying earlier, that they could have gone back to look at the creative brief. They could have maybe even gone back perhaps to look at the journey on the show and use that as a deciding factor. I think for the final and for how hard everybody has worked to get to that stage, personally, I think that it would have been fair to have three at the final.
The
And let
final.
that be it. Yeah, 100%.
So would you have sent Rue home or Kieran home for the choice? This is so, you don't have to answer that if you don't want to. If you don't want to answer, that's fine. But
It's a really hard one because I'm in mixed minds with this of who I would have sent home if that would have been the next stage, because I think Rue has a great creative mind, and I think the concepts that they come up with are
oh yeah,
out of this world.
100%.
However, in terms of timing, in terms of execution, sometimes I think they can be super, super hard on themselves, and they wear their hearts on their sleeve a lot. So I think that can be off-putting as an artist on set. And I think, again, the timing thing for me throughout the competition was a biggie. And I think that is a little bit unforgivable because that can either make you or break you on a job. If we're filming on set, there isn't the time for that. Kieran, I think Kieran, I did see as a bit of an underdog, and I think coming with a background of no sort of artistry related background and mainly just hair, I think they brought a lot to the table. So, who, if I were to pick, it's such a hard one. I think if I were to pick, I would be swaying with sending Rue home. If I'm honest,
Yeah,
I would be.
I
Yeah,
think
that's what.
Rue's imagination and their mind wins for me. But
Yes.
and Rue has won a challenge. But what you've already said, I won't go over it all over again. But yeah, I 100% agree with what you just said, basically, in a nutshell.
Yeah, no, I think so. I think I'd have loved to give Kieran the opportunity to get to the final. So I think I'd be swaying with putting Kieran in the final and sending Rue home. That's what I would have gone with.
So, Mikki, thank you so much for joining me today and taking time out of your schedule, because I know you're super busy with your teaching, with owning a brand and a business, and being a mum, and just being an absolute superstar all the time, and being everyone's personal counselor and looking after everyone. Because I know you will literally though. But yeah, no, thank you so much for joining me. I'm really appreciative of that and for you giving me your time today.
No, thank you so much for having me, Ryan. It's been an absolute pleasure to be on here. And when I heard that you were doing these sort of reviews of Glow Up, I thought it's bang on the money, so fitting. So I really appreciate being here. And it's nice, I think, sometimes from an outsider to step back and really look and critically review artists' work. Of course, I do this as my 9 to 5 as a lecturer, and used to kind of looking at students' work and analysing. So I am so impressed with all of the contestants that have been on Glow Up this particular season, and I think they've brought really amazing artistry to the table. Yeah, so no, thank you for having me.